we are going to look at sets. Okay. Now, what is a set? A set is, we know the definition, it is a well-defined collection of objects. Okay. So, this is the standard definition for sets. Now, what is a well-defined collection of objects? What do we mean by well-defined? Okay. Let's take some examples. For example, let's say set A is the set of all letters in the alphabet. Okay, in the English alphabet, you know that set is simply A, B, C, D till Z, and we usually denote this set using curly brackets. Okay. Now, suppose I define a new group called the set of all good players in the Indian cricket team. Let's say I made some group like this. Now, the problem is, some students may agree that, well, I know who the good players are, okay, but this is not something that all people can agree on. Okay. So, this will change depending on opinion. Okay. Not just this example, if I say something like nice, some tasty food, again can change from person to person. Okay. Nice color, okay, or nice clothes could change from person to person. So, those are all things that will not come under our definition of sets. Okay. But that is not the only thing. So, this is something that we will not be considering under sets. Okay. Now, of course, we can also ask some questions like, suppose I list, okay, all the odd numbers less than 10. Okay. So, let's say 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay. Now, suppose I make another set, which is a set D, which consists of 3, 1, 5, 9, 7. It turns out that this set and this set are exactly the same, even though the order of elements is different. So, when we say a well-defined collection of objects, okay, the order of elements does not matter. These individual objects 1, 3, etc. are called elements of the set, or for this set the elements could be A, B, C, etc. Okay. Now, these are some standard definitions, and if we want to define a set, we can write this description that will tell us the elements in the set, or we can just write the elements directly. Okay. So, the two forms of writing, okay, the elements in a set are known as set builder notation and the roster method. This is the roster method, where we have listed each and every element in the set. The set builder notation tells us how to build the set. For example, suppose I say D is equal to, I want to take, instead of just these 5 numbers, I want to take all numbers, all natural numbers, okay, which, let's say, satisfy a particular condition. For example, these natural numbers must leave a remainder 1 when divided by 4. Okay. So, for example, the numbers that I want are numbers of the form 5, 1, 5, 9, 13, etc. They leave a remainder 1 when divided by 4. How do I? Well, one way is to just list them. Another way is to say D is equal to X such that numbers of the form X such that X is equal to 4k plus 1, where k belongs to whole numbers. Okay. Now, why k belongs to whole numbers? Because k equals 0 gives us x equals 1, k equals 1 gives us x equals 5, etc. This way of writing how to build the set, D contains all elements x such that x is of the form 4k plus 1, where k belongs to whole numbers. This is like an instruction for building the set. So this is called as the set builder notation. This is called as the roster method. Okay. Now, something that's important to know upfront while dealing with sets. Why do we need this entity called sets? Okay. If we are simply just going to list some elements, of course we understand that order does not matter. Why do we need this new definition called sets? I think it's important to understand that before we understand the algebra and operations and other ideas in sets. Okay. Now, the reason sets are important is because they help in making mathematics formal. Okay. Now, we don't have the time to go over the entire history and why sets were introduced, but I think 2-3 ideas are good to illustrate here. One is sets help make mathematics formal, and we are going to see this very clearly when we do functions. Okay, that is one reason. The other thing is, when I listed something here, when I defined set D using set builder method, I said it consists of x such that x equals 4k plus 1, and we know that if we continued with this sequence, we will keep going, right? There is no end to it. So one of the ideas that we will need to come to terms with is the idea of infinite number of elements. Okay, so we are going to be dealing with many sets that have infinite elements, not right now but later, and sets is one way to deal with infinite elements and still do some meaningful operations, meaningful questions you can ask about them. So these are two things that we should keep in mind: the necessity for something formal and the ability to deal with infinite elements are both useful features that we will definitely refer to later. But right now, when we understand sets, this may not be readily apparent, okay, which is why I am mentioning this explicitly. Okay, what are some of the key ideas that we need to learn in sets? Some terms and definitions. First, we defined what is a set. Okay, then we said something called an element. Okay, elements of a set. Okay, then we use the symbol, this belongs. We usually say sets are denoted by capital letters. Okay, elements of a set are denoted by small letters, numbers, or it could be some other objects also, but in general, if we don't know anything, we use the small letters as elements for a set. This says belongs, the symbol for belongs. We say A belongs to A. Okay, an element belongs to a set. And the next idea is what is known as n of A, which is number of elements in set A. Okay, now actually when we define belongs, one more symbol we have to define, which is belongs and does not belong. We can say B does not belong to A, some set, some element does not belong to some set. The next is n of A, which is number of elements in a set A. These are some basic terminologies, but beyond this we are also going to define a few other ideas. Okay, one is we are going to define something called a null set. Now, what is a null set? A null set is a set that has no elements, which means it has 0 elements. N of A is actually 0. N of the null set is actually 0. So usually we denote the null set just by open curly bracket, close curly bracket. Now, why is it important? Well, we said it's a well-defined collection of objects, but a set that has no object is also well-defined, except that it doesn't have anything interesting. Okay, but this set is still going to be useful for us to do certain operations and learn certain ideas with sets. So we define this thing called a null set. Okay, the next idea is what is known as a subset. Okay, this symbol means subset. A subset of B means A is a subset of B. Okay, what it says is, if an element A belongs to the set A, then A belongs to B. Okay, what's an example of a subset? Let's say B is the subset, B is the set A, E, I, O, U, the set of all vowels in the English language. Now, A is the subset small a, comma, I. Then clearly A is a subset of B. The next idea is what we call as a proper subset. A is a proper subset of B. This means A is a subset of B and A is not equal to B. Okay. Now, this idea we didn't define explicitly, but equality of sets is when two sets have the same elements, the same number of elements as well as the same elements. Now, if for example B is this set, if A was also the set A, E, I, O, U, then A equals B. But if capital A is the set A, comma, I, then you can clearly see that A is a proper subset of B, because A is a subset of B and A is not equal to B. So we can say here A, comma, I is a proper subset of A, E, I, O, U. Okay. Now, these are all basic ideas and definitions in sets. Okay. The next operation and idea that we have to learn is A union B. Okay. So this means we have two sets. We want to find set A union set B. This is the set of all elements that are in A or B or both. Okay. So now let's define some, let's get some examples for A union B. Let's say A is the set, let's go with some letters, A, E, I, O, U, and B is a new set, not this earlier one. Okay. So let's say we'll call it B1. B1 is the set, let's say C, D, E and F. Okay. Now, what is A union B1? A union B1 is the set of all elements that are in A or in B or both. Now, when we list, we have to be careful. If we write A, E, I, O, U, C, D, E, F, we would be wrong. This would stop being a well-defined collection of objects because the object E appears twice. An element can appear in an object only once. Why? We already discussed it earlier that ordering doesn't matter. Either the element is there or not there. It's not as if it's there in the 3rd position and the 10th position. The position is of no consequence. So if E is there, it should be listed only once. Okay, so that means we should just say A, E, I, O, U, C, D, F. And the next last idea along with these terminologies is A intersection B, which is the set of all elements that are in A and B. Set of all elements that are in both A and B, and A in this particular case, A intersection B1 will be from these two sets. For these two sets, what is the common element? E is the common element. Therefore, EA intersection B will be equal to this set with the element E. Now, this is just the basics with the numbers and null set and union, intersection, subset, etc. But one very important idea to learn in sets is that sets can also be members of other sets or objects of other sets. So far, we have written sets where all the elements are in some sense similar. We either wrote letters or we wrote numbers, etc. But it is possible to conceive of a set. So let's say this is a set S. Okay, it has the letters A, comma B, the number 1, 2, the day Monday, and it could even have this set B1. Okay, so what we need to know is that sets can be a bit messy, in the sense they needn't neatly fit into one category that we have assumed. Okay, so now assume that B1 is the set, B1 is the set C, D, E, F. Okay, now let's ask the question, does A belong to S? Is the element A part of set S? Well, we have listed set S as A, B, 1, 2, Monday, B1. Yes, definitely it is a part of S. Okay, let's ask the question, does the element Monday belong to S? The answer is yes, because Monday is one of the elements. Now, the next question obviously would be, does C belong to S? Okay, now C is not directly listed in S, but C is an element of B1. So, if we ask the question, B1 is a part of S, C is a part of B1, so what would you think the answer to this question would be? We would think the answer should be yes, but that is not correct, because C is not an element that is directly present in S. B1 is a member of S, C is a member of B1, but C itself is not an element in S. This is a very, very important distinction to be made, and this is one of the reasons why sets is both useful as well as sometimes confusing when you deal with large and complicated sets or infinite sets, because sets, for one, can have other sets as members of themselves, and secondly, just because C is a member of B1 doesn't mean that C is a member of S. So the correct answer is no. And how many elements does this set have? N of S. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should we count this as 6, 7, 8, 9, or should we just add 1? Well, because we have defined this object as simply B1, we should just count it as one object. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just 6 elements and not 9 elements. So these are some ideas that we need to understand about sets. So in this we can also ask, for example, is B1 Okay, let's ask this question. Is B1 a subset of S? Okay, a subset with this symbol, okay, or a proper subset. We can ask both. Is this a subset of the original set? Yes. Well, we might think yes, it looks like this is a subset, but that's not correct. In fact, we can say B1 belongs to S. It's an element of S. What is a subset of S? If we listed, for example, a new set with A, B, B1, this is a subset of S. So the answer here is no, but the answer here is correct. A, B, B1 is a subset of S. So we can say B1 with curly bracket. So now this becomes a set with an element B1. This is now a subset of S. So these are some of the distinctions we have to make. A number by itself is just an element. The same number enclosed in curly brackets or a bunch of numbers enclosed in curly brackets becomes a set. One set can be a subset of another set, but in our case B1, though it's a set, is actually an element of S. So the answer to this question is no, but the set that contains B1 is actually a subset of S. So these are some of the basic ideas and definitions that we need to understand and learn in sets.